For today's topic, we are going to review the new one-day accelerated TMS protocol. Let's get right into it. A few months ago, a doctor by the name of Jonathan Downar gave a lecture discussing the results of the 1D study, which has shown promising evidence for the use of a one-day accelerated TMS protocol. The lecture is about an hour or so long, but I'm going to cut to the important details. The important thing that drives the efficacy of TMS is neuroplasticity. That is a very important word. Neuroplasticity is the rearrangement, building of new neural connections in the brain. For our purposes, TMS specifically targets the connections for depression, anxiety, OCD, etc. If we are talking about neuroplasticity, there are two neurochemicals that enhance the neuroplasticity effect. The first is dopamine.
Dopamine is really helpful, and not just any dopamine. If you apply pramipexole, which is a dopamine D2/3/4 agonist, it does nothing. It does not enhance plasticity at all. If you use L-DOPA, which is metabolized to dopamine itself and hitting the D1 and the D2 receptor, then what's interesting is very inhibitory protocols like Quater pulse and so on become more inhibitory, and very excitatory protocols also become more excitatory.
So the type of dopamine matters. And one way we can access the correct dopamine is with a one-time dosage of Vyvanse right before you start your treatments. It is a stimulant medication that is mostly used for ADHD. Vyvanse is also known as lisdexamfetamine. Now, the root of that word is amphetamine. And amphetamines release tons of dopamine into the brain, but it also prevents dopamine from being reuptaken into the brain. So now your body has more access to the dopamine that it's already producing on its own. That dopamine that comes from Vyvanse and other ADHD medications is usually used for focus and concentration when we talk about ADHD. For our purposes with TMS, it is used for increasing the excitatory effect of TMS for something like depression, and it's also used for increasing the inhibitory effect for something like anxiety. So for those of you that may be stuck on the idea of using an amphetamine for the purposes of TMS, I have this to say. A, the Vyvanse is only an option for you to use for the one-day treatment. It is not a requirement. B, this is not to be confused with the illegal drug methamphetamine. Yes, ADHD medications and methamphetamine have only a small difference in their chemical structure, but that small difference has major implications in terms of potency and purity.
This is not meth.
The next neuroplasticity stimulant is D Cycloserine.
You do 30 sessions, you get a 30% remission rate. You do 50 sessions, you get and it doesn't go on forever, but as a rough rule of thumb. In this case, the results kind of fit with that. If you took people and gave them 20 days of TMS, using theta burst simulation over F3, no personalized target, just over F3, you get about an 18.9% remission rate. So it's kind of what you expect. But if they're taking D Cycloserine, even just for the first 10 of those days out of 20, the remission rate is now 40% and the response rate is 70%. It's a huge jump. Like nothing does that.
D Cycloserine is actually used to treat TB in much higher dosages, but for our purposes, we're using it at the dose of a supplement right before you start treatment. D Cycloserine is what we call an NMDA agonist, and NMDA receptor activation are what's implicated in the building of neuronal networks. That is what makes this an ideal supplement to take right before you start treatment. So what does all this mean for the building and the structure of the new 1D protocol? Let's see what the results were from this study.
What happens is you get this lovely exponential curve where people show some improvement on week 1, more improvement on week 2, more improvement. It takes about 6 weeks for maximum improvement. But because you enhance all this plasticity, the durability is pretty wild. Like they're actually showing still great effects out to 12 weeks, so 3 months out. We're now getting our 6-week data back, and some are relapsing, but I'd say about 80% of them are still doing really well 6 months later off a single-day trial.
I've been doing TMS for about 2 years at this point. I've heard from veterans in the field about for how over a decade there was skepticism about how effective TMS is from other providers. Since then, there are TMS clinics popping up all over the country.
Damn good deal.
I hope this new one-day protocol doesn't become another treatment option that we as doctors are slow to adopt. That is a quick summary of the 1D study. If you're interested, you can visit my website for more information. I will put the links down in the description, as I mentioned earlier. Subscribe to this channel for more information about this or TMS in general. Otherwise, that's all I have for today. Take care.